to another episode of the Lazy Girl's Guide to Podcasting with me, Verity. As ever, if this is the first time listening to the podcast, then it is great to have you here. Welcome. And if you are returning, you've listened to previous episodes, it is great to have you back. Regardless if you're new, if you have listened to episodes before, make sure you are subscribed on whichever platform you're listening on, be that YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Make sure you're subscribed so then as soon as a new episode drops, then you are ready to listen to it. For this episode, I wanted to do a review of the latest AI feature that has come out from Captivate FM. Captivate FM, as we know if you've listened to any of my episodes whatsoever, is the hosting platform for Lazy Girl's Guide to Podcasting. If you are watching this on YouTube, then you are going to be seeing my screen for this, but don't worry, I am going to be explaining what is happening and what is going along. So if you're listening to the audio only, then everything still makes sense. In 2024, Captivate released a feature called Captivate Spark, and it is all about integrating AI into your podcast. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs and like the positives and downsides of using AI in your podcasting. That is going to be a separate episode. Today, I just want to review this feature, which I think is a really, really cool new feature. First thing that I'm going to review from Captivate Spark is their episode planning. I'm going to go over to my episode planning section and I'm going to click on this add episode ID, and you'll see this little drop down and it says either suggest new episodes, create from prompt, or manually add new. Now, manually add new is what I would normally do, but these two new features from Captivate Spark are suggest new episodes and create from prompt. So the suggest new episodes I think is really fun. What it does is it looks at your 30 days trends, it looks at your subject trends and the episode details in order, and it also talks about potential guests. And I think I was talking there for all of, 3 seconds, and it has come up with 3 new episode ideas. So it's had a look at my 30-day analytics, it has looked at the content that has been doing really well, it's looked at the themes of my content and my episodes, and it has come up with these 3 suggestions: podcasting for nonprofits, making an impact, harnessing social media for podcast growth, and monetizing your podcast strategies and pitfalls. So those are 3 content topics that would really, really fit into Lazy Girl's Guide to Podcasting. What I can then do is dive into this a little bit more. So if I select one of these ideas, I've selected podcasting for nonprofits making an impact just because it was the first one at the top. It has given me 6 main talking points. I could talk about the unique advantages of podcasting for nonprofits and social causes, how to craft compelling stories that resonate with listeners and drive action, how to find your audience, understanding the technical aspects of podcasting for small organizations, collaborating with other nonprofits, and measuring the success of a non-profit podcast. It's then given me some guest suggestions. It has recommended for this particular one someone called Megan O'Neill. I've never heard of Megan O'Neill before, but it's saying that Megan O'Neill is a non-profit leader who successfully launched a podcast to promote her organization's mission and engage supporters. And it has given me her website, Instagram, and X. And then it's given me 3 questions that might be useful if I were to get hold of her and successfully get her as a guest on the podcast. And it's also recommended someone called Randy Hain, who is a consultant for nonprofits. It's given me good talking points and a starting point for creating an episode, which will very likely resonate with my audience. If I go into another one, the idea is harnessing social media for podcast growth. It's again given me 6 talking points. If I go into the third one, monetizing your podcast strategies pitfalls, again it's given me 6 main talking points and 2 people who I could contact if I wanted suggestions for them being on the podcast. That's the first feature that Captivate Spark gives you. The next one that they've given me is from this drop down. Again, I'm in episode planning. I can go to create from prompt, and if I click on that, I can type in the topic idea that I have. So let's go with using social media to gain podcast listeners. Main talking points: I want to talk about using Instagram to grow a fan base. Talking point 2, creating TikTok videos to promote your podcast. And maybe my third talking point could be using social media versus email marketing. And I'm going to click on generate AI episode ideas. It's going to take few seconds to work that there. So that was 5 seconds, and it has already created me an episode idea: maximizing your podcast reach, social media strategies that work. It's given me 6 talking points: understanding your target audience on social media, leveraging Instagram stories and reels for podcast promotion, creating engaging TikTok content to drive listeners, using LinkedIn for networking and podcast growth, balancing social media with email marketing strategies, and analyzing social media metrics to adjust your strategy. And again, it has given me suggestions of people I could contact. So here it suggested Jenna Kutcher, Pat Flynn, with contact details, and if I were to interview those 2 individuals, the kinds of questions I could ask them. And again, it's created me some really good talking points and suggested to me a really good title within, 5 seconds was that? The third feature from Captivate Spark, which I really love, is the AI generation of your episode details. And this is probably one which I would say I would be using the most. So I'm going to go into episodes, and here's all of my episodes, both published and draft. But this one, episode 104, why SEO is so important in podcasting. I recorded this yesterday, but if I go into my edit episode, you will see that even though I've got the episode uploaded, this is just a draft title, and then I've got nothing in the show notes. I made a little note to myself that I talked about episode 93 within this episode, so I've just clicked a link or created a link there, but you'll see I created a Canva graphic, and that is it. So there's no show notes, and the title isn't formalized, there's no transcript, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button here, generate transcript and AI episode assets. It comes up with this box: use Captivate Spark to transcribe this episode and generate authentic SEO shareable show notes. Is there anything I'd like to add? I can add in some episode information here, anything about the tone, if I want it written in first person, etc. I'm going to leave it for now though, just because I've set up my settings, so it should be okay. And then my total number of speakers, I'm going to select 1 because it was just me, and then clicked generate transcript and AI content, and it is going to just take a few seconds to create all of this different content. So my transcript, episode title suggestions, intro summary, key takeaways, show note suggestions. It's going to give me timestamps, which is just a huge saver for me, URLs mentioned, companies mentioned, SEO description, and SEO keywords. And you think how long it would take me to come up with all of that myself. It has given me 6 potential episode titles. I have got an intro summary, 3 suggestions for show notes, key takeaways, my chapters, ad suggestion markers. I don't actually use ads at the moment, but it's nice that it gives me some suggestions, links referred to in this episode, that's useful, companies mentioned, SEO title, SEO description. And then I really like this bit at the bottom of keywords, because we know that I do publish my episodes onto YouTube as well. So this is a really nice section to be able to copy across for YouTube keywords as well. But to use this is so nice and simple. If I thought that this was the best title, I'm just going to click add to episode and it would be imported. Having a look down at this summary intro again, if I like this, I'm just going to click add to show notes, and you will see behind it's just appeared. I can then go in and I can change that around as much as I want. Takeaways, I love to have key takeaways, so I'm going to add that to show notes as well. Chapters, I love chapter markers. We know that those are so super important as well for making your episode more searchable. I also like to just copy them and then come back to my show notes, and I like to insert them down here as well. And the reason for doing that is because then when this automatically gets sent across to YouTube, that is already there. And then I can also, when I put the YouTube episode out there as a video, I could just copy all of this, and then I've got the automatic chapter markers in my YouTube video as well, which again we know is good for SEO. So to go back in, I'm just going to click view AI episode assets. I'm going to add the links referenced in the episode to the show notes, because that'll give me a reminder to put my affiliate link in, for example, for Captivate FM. I don't need to use the companies because I've already got Captivate as a web link. And then my search engine optimization meta description. I quite like that meta description, so I'm just going to say add that in as well. Then the only thing I need to decide is which of the suggestions I prefer for my show notes. Now, they've put all of these in the third person, which is not my preference, but I'm just going to press add to show notes anyway. And these are all the things that I've now added to my show notes. So I've got the intro, I've got the episodes mentioned, which I'd already added in myself. I've got the takeaways, the links referred to, which I can make this look prettier. And then I can change this so it's in the first person. But you can see how quickly that has generated content. Now, I'm not going to leave this as it is. I'm going to format it. So for example, takeaways straight away, that's going to go into bold because I like my headings in bold. I'm going to change things around because at the moment I've gone and stuck my show notes all the way at the bottom there. So that's going to be moved up so that it's after the summary. My preference is that everything is in British English because I am in Britain. Nothing wrong with it being in American English, but it's just my preference that it's in British English. So I'll need to go through and change things like that. And then I'm also going to make sure that the SEO rich keywords are in there as I want them to. And then I might just want to amend certain bits and pieces because I want them to sound like me and not like it's something that's been AI generated. I want to make sure that things aren't overly repetitive as well. I can see already there's some bits which are repetitive, which is just not going to serve any need from an SEO point of view or from a listener point of view. But otherwise, this is just now needing a little bit of cleanup. And if I scroll down the page and I come to chapters, I can see that my chapter markers have already been inserted. Again, this is great from an SEO point of view because I've got all of these different keywords, but it's also great from a YouTube point of view as well. If I scroll down, I can view my transcript. It's already been put in there. I have to say, I don't tend to go through and check the transcript too much. For me, it's there to support people to be able to access the podcast slightly easier. And it's also there from an SEO point of view, but I don't go through and check everything word for word. But on saying that, this would be really useful to just copy and paste this and go into somewhere like ChatGPT and then have it turn into a blog post. And come down to episode SEO. SEO title is just going to be generated based on what I've already entered in for the title of the episode. So I'm not going to change that. And then the SEO description is being put in as well. I'm just going to change the exclamation mark at the end. I don't tend to like exclamation marks. I think it ends up looking very AI generated if there's too many exclamation marks. Again, I might just change some of this a little bit so that it sounds a bit more like me. I wouldn't word things in quite this way. But otherwise, once I've done all of that, then I can either update the draft episode or schedule. So I'm just going to update the draft for now because there's bits and pieces that I need to change in that, and it will take me back through to my episode dashboard. Personally, I absolutely love these 3 new features of Captivate Spark from Captivate. If you're thinking that you want to use Captivate Spark yourself and you are wondering how much it is going to cost you, Captivate itself costs me £17 per month. There's 2 different ways that you can get Captivate Spark. You can either use it as a monthly package, and this is an add-on to your £17 per month, which I believe is just converted straight to dollars. It's £5, £10 or £20 per month, and with that equals hours of transcription. So if you spend £5 per month, you get 5 hours of transcription, £10, 10 hours, £20, 20 hours. And you can do it as a monthly subscription. When I signed up to it, I only spent £5 to get 5 hours. My episodes are short. I don't need an awful lot. And my transcription balance after just 2 episodes, I've still got 4 hours, 35 minutes. So this is going to last me a long time. So because of this, I haven't signed up to the monthly bundle. I've just signed up for the one-off top-up. If you want to do the same, then you can buy transcription hours in 5, 10 and 20 hour chunks. You just press buy now and then you just use up your transcription balance. But at the moment, I think that the biggest things for me for using Captivate Spark will be the transcription, also the generation of my show notes. I think that will be hugely beneficial. I'll probably do a follow-up episode of this in a few months and let you know how I'm getting on with Captivate Spark and let you know my thoughts, because I know that there's also a lot more features that Captivate are kind of teasing that they're going to add into Spark. But otherwise, I'd love to know, have you been using Captivate Spark? Are you using AI for your podcasting at all? You can reach out to me on Instagram at VeritySongon. Let me know your thoughts. Hope you have found this helpful as ever, and I will see you next episode.